So we're asking, what was an Amiga in 2004? Shameless plug, right? When I was writing, I've done a lot of writing and research on Amigas over the years, and I've written for Total Amiga and Amiga Future magazine about the history of Commodore's Amigas, what happened to the company after Commodore went bust, about the key people and companies that contributed to the Amiga's success, and what happened to them after Commodore went bust. Some fascinating stories. I thought I knew everything about the Amiga. I thought no one knows more than me. Then I started researching it. Thankfully, or unthankfully, it was COVID, but thankfully I had time to do it. So when I researched, I found so much more information. I was really, really impressed that everyone thinks outside the Amiga community that the Amiga is a footnote in history, multitasking. That's it. And that we're all Macs and actually we're all PCs, Macs, and a few other things. When I was writing the trilogy, I came to realize that just like the old Monty Python, we're not dead yet, right? In fact, we're very much still alive, okay? I'm getting better. But to many Amigans, there can be only one. It's a classic Amiga with a 68K CPU, curated by Commodore, running Amiga OS. And that's it. There's the classic Amiga OS family. And, it's quite funny because, that's where a true Amiga purist feels. And there's no doubt we have kept our Amigas alive. This was an Amiga I saw at Ami Party in Poland, Super Bonio's A4000 tower. It had everything in it. I mean, it really was fantastic. I don't think I've seen a better tower. Now, there's a challenge, right? I'm sure there's a challenge. Make a better tower. But what was it set? What set the Amiga apart? Why are we still here? Well, one, we're crazy. We know that, right? Two, most of us are all white males, as we found out last night, right? If you're here last night or this morning, you'll know about it, right? I apologize to the lovely ladies in the room, but that was a comment made back in 1998. Yeah, well, and I can see some of the founders have been here for 28 years, so congratulations. So it's definitely not dead yet, right? And there's only one, apparently. But what's kept Amiga alive? What's kept Amiga 68K, Amiga OS alive? And it has to be said, it's software emulation. And the development of UAE back in, I'm trying to think what year that was. Back in 86, was it? 96, sorry. It was to prove that you could emulate the Amiga's custom chipsets with emulation. And no one thought you could do that. And they produced UAE, the unusable Amiga emulator. But then it improved, and the best one of all, and still developed probably, is WinUAE for Windows. But there are emulations for for everything really. UAE for all was another emulation that was created. But there's so many, right? So many out there. The thing is about, and I should have gone back on this because that's one I quite like. There's an old British sitcom, right, which says, I've only had this broom for 20 years. I've changed the head 15 times and the handle 14 times. But it's the same broom, right. So we classic Amigans tend to do that with our computers. We have all manner of upgrades in there. I mean, and sometimes you even replace the motherboard. My own Amiga 2000, my first Amiga, suffered death by barter. So, I have actually an Amiga 2000 that has a new case. I've replaced the motherboard. Is it the same machine? Well, of course it is. In my mind it is. and we do add so many little additions to our Amigas. And you walk around the show and you see all these wonderful things being developed. I mean, it's amazing the stuff that's being developed. And it makes me really proud to be an Amigan, a crazy Amigan, right? So, because we had good emulation of the Amiga chipset, it led to Workbench distributions. The first two early ones were Amiga in a Box. Anyone remember that? And then, what was the other one? Amiga in a Box, and I've got to remember the name now. No, before that. Bloodwitch's Classic Amiga. So Classic Amiga for Amigas. Amiga in a Box was for emulated Amigas. But that led to I call them Super Workbench distributions. So the first one was AmigaSys back in 2005. Followed quite soon by AmiKit. And we've got an AmiKit person here today. AmiKit was, AmigaSys stopped development about 2012. It's been picked up again by AmigaKit. AmiKit always confuses me, this. It's picked up again by AmigaKit and has been redeveloped. Whereas the AmiKit is still developed. The latest version is version 12. It's now a paid version, unfortunately, but the AmiKit 10 is still free and you can download it. Yep. So, and it is a really good system, really nice. if you want to try emulation on a PC, or a Mac, or whatever else it runs on now, a Vampire, it runs on a number of things. There was a AROS, which is not an Amiga operating system. It was AOS back in 2003. It became AROS in 2005 because of, I think it was Aaron Digula, if I can't pronounce his name right, but never mind. And it is a community effort of developers to create an alternative Amiga operating system, because at the time they were concerned that Commodore were going bust. They were right, I guess. Yeah. And they're worried that the future of the Amiga OS would disappear. So they kept working on Amiga OS. And over the years, the first one was AROS Max, which was a distribution, that like a Linux distribution, to show what the best of AROS could offer. Better ones, that's not fair to say that. More improved ones, VMware AROS, which is a really strange title, which was renamed Icarus Desktop. And that's still developed. The last one was out, I think, 2 years ago. There's others, Aspire OS, AROS 1XE, Tiny AROS. But you can be sure that Amiga developers, AROS developers, are developing AROS. They continue to develop AROS. It's a very active community. That's led to people creating their own AROS hardware. Or they've used their own hardware and do-it-yourself AROS systems. Of course, what happens from then, you get people think, well, we can make some money out of this. We'll create AROS computers, and we can sell them. And I think the first, both in the same year, was Stephen Jones of the Checkmate Digital cases. He created the Amiga. The way he said it, because he's from North London, it tried to sound like Amiga. So, so fortunately, the patent lawyers can't understand London accents, so it's not a problem, right? Anyway, so he did produce a number of Amigas, like the Silent, the Pro. He didn't sell many, and he doesn't do that anymore, right? The other one was Pascal Papara, a German developer, who created Ares 1, which was while the Amiga was a small Intel board, the Ares 1 was a big, beefy tower, multi-booting with Linux and AROS. The Amiga was multi-booting, again, with Linux and AROS, or Icarus Desktop. The AROS 1 is still available to buy. The last version was in 2021, and it's supplied with Amiga Forever and crypto mining software. So Pascal has gone another route. He's trying to create, you can mine by using his hardware. One. Armed and dangerous. Well, we all know about the rise of ARM-based hardware. That has led to a number of emulators for Amiga OS. Surprise, surprise. UAE for ARM was created by the same guy that did UAE for All. And actually, he created it for another product called the Amiga. And that's another, the Amiga, right? And it's no longer produced, but it was like a disk drive with the emulator. You put in your floppy disk and would run the game. That was the idea. It was one of the first FPGA type devices out there, the size of a single floppy disk drive. Yep. So UAE for ARM, AmiBerry, Ambien, Pi Amiga. I'm sure there's loads more because they keep coming up every day. And so there's the Amiga. There it is. You can see the floppy disk side was the other side. You put the thing in. It's given rise to the A500 Mini from Retro Games, which is a stylized, miniaturized Amiga 500 case with ARM-based hardware inside, powered by AmiBerry. They don't say it's powered by AmiBerry, but it's powered by AmiBerry. It comes bundled with 25 games. You can buy this today. As sold, you don't get access to the underlying operating system, but there are clever people that create the thing called a Mini Amiga, which is an OS you can put on it, which is basically Amiga OS, which is so it's good, right? And of course, the 600GS from Amiga Kit, which you can buy over there. It's probably a more fully featured device, again based on ARM. It's AmiBerry is the emulator. It's AmiBench on top. It includes some AROS components and a number of components from Aeon's OS4 software recompiled, and it's a pretty good product. You can go online with it. It does support Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and all those things. Okay? But my pride and joy, because I'm biased, is the next generation. Right now, a little bit of history lesson to get us to where we get to. You see, you need to understand this. Most of you do because you're all nuts like me, but some people don't. So it's nice to tell the story. Next generation PowerPC. Well, this dates back to David telling his stories today. That there was a move towards PowerPC accelerators by Phase 5. Commodore go bust. Phase 5 visualize a PowerPC Amiga future. Amiga Technologies visualize a PowerPC off software future using hardware developed by people like Phase 5. ESCOM go bust. Amiga Technology disappears. BIOS comes out, trying to create the next PowerPC Amiga. Same time, Phase 5 had this dream of a PowerPC Amiga. They compete on the forums, but they're competing because they both want to win the hearts and minds of us, right? Problems with Who owns the code? Can you get a license? BIOS moves to supporting, creating Mac clones, very successfully creating Mac clones. Eventually, unfortunately, Phase 5 got bust. Everyone knows that, they went bust. My Phase 5 accelerator went belly up 2 days before they went bust. I called the dealer in the UK, he said, "I'll send it to Phase 5. I posted to Phase 5 the next day. The next day, Phase 5 went bust. I never saw it again. Anyway, these are stories that we love to tell because it's horrible. So what we got was the team at Phase 5 had been working on a software and hardware. And they thought, okay, we've done this work. Let's create our own new PowerPC device. We can't call it Amiga, but we'll call it something else. And that's how the Pegasus One came about. So you've got the ex-Phase 5 boys, B-Plan, some of the hardware people, and the Morphwise team, which were the software people for Phase 5, really. And they create the Pegasus One with funding from Genesi. Right? Shortly afterwards, the official offering from the new Amiga company, which had been formed after Gateway sold the Amiga, or licensed the Amiga rights and sold the name to another company, right, called Amiga Inc. Bill McHugh and Felicity Moss. So there you are, you get two competing products. We had no Amigas for 5 years, 6 years, and suddenly two come along at the same time. It's a bit like buses, really, isn't it? And of course, over the next few years, Genesi produced they both had problems, by the way. They both used my technology, like Articia S Northbridge, which had real issues. And I would say Genesi B-Plan solved it by their April fixes, whereas unfortunately iTech, who are using reference boards from May, Teron PowerPC reference boards, modified for us, for the Amiga, it never really solved the problem on its Amiga ones. And you solved it by putting in external cards and ignoring the on-board DMA because it just didn't work. Yeah. So the next couple of years, we got Effica from Genesi B-Plan, and you got the A1XE and the Micro A1C. A1XE had the same problems really as the first one. The Micro A1C didn't, but it still was limited and wasn't perfect. Again, it was a reference board from My Electronics. But what it did do, it led to the development of two competitive PowerPC operating systems, which were vying for the hearts and minds of us, the Amiga people. MorphOS and AmigaOS 4. MorphOS, the last version was released a couple of years ago. It's MorphOS 2. Sorry, MorphOS. I'm going to find the number. Yeah, thank you, 318. And it's a very nice operating system. If you haven't tried it, it's worth trying. OS 4 was the last one in 2020. An update 3 is currently being worked on at the moment. Don't know when it's going to be released. But two very nice PowerPC operating systems. When you use them, you feel like you're using Amiga. It's really smooth, it's nice, it's clean, and I could go on all day about PowerPC, but never mind, I won't. That led to iTech and Genesi left the Amiga market probably 2005, 2006, and it was left to other people to fill the void. The first was a company called AQ in Italy. They formed a company just to create the SAM 440, and they brought out several models over the years: the 440 EP, the SAM Flex, so 440 Flex, and the SAM 460 EX. You can still buy the SAM 460 EX. Sometimes it's marketed as the AmigaONE 500, but I don't think the current version is. Some stupid idiot decided to fund PowerPC motherboards. Matthew, I think it was. And there's been a series of motherboards from AON Technology. The first one was the AmigaONE X1000, 2010. It started, released in beginning of 2012. The X1000, the X5020, X5040, and the more recent A1222 Plus, which we had some to sell, but they got sold, so sorry. AON also creates its own software to enhance the experience on OS4, which includes drivers, utility, you name it. It's a really big package. I'm going to go to that. And it also, you have a stride there, Alex. Yeah, so enhanced, the current version is 2.2, 2.3 is in the works, being beta tested. All this hardware supports Linux. And because we have great volunteers, like we all have in the Amiga world, the developers, especially a guy called Christian Sugotsky, makes sure that our hardware is supported by the mainstream Linux kernel. So every kernel that comes out supports our X1000s and X5000s. So it's brilliant. And the Linux people pick out kernels like, it's mad. It is. As soon as they pick one out, it's next one. It never stops. Bending the clones, right? Clones. Now, a little bit of history. You all know it really, but a little bit of history. In 2005, Dennis van Weeren, a Dutch Amiga enthusiast, actually embarked on a project to recreate the Amiga's custom chips in FPGA. No one thought it could be done. And when he announced it, I think it was on Amiga.org, no one believed him. They were like calling him a liar, which is strange. So he actually produced pictures, and they thought they were fake. Yeah. We're very trusting in the Amiga community, right? But eventually, at one of the Dutch meetups, he had his prototypes. And it was this thing, a whole bunch of stuff he bought, things he built, put it together, and that was his first Amiga, FPGA. Eventually, he smarted it up, and he came out with a design like that, the Minimig version 1, and he open sourced it. Anyone could build it. It was really good. Anyone could do it, right? And a few companies picked it up and produced the version 1.1, which is the version that was released. And the first company to actually produce the Minimig version 1.1 was ACube, but others have done it since. And these two people, you saw one of them today, that's Jens Schoenfeld on your right, and that's Dennis van Weeren on the left. Dennis no longer works on Amigas, but his FPGA work on the Amiga led to the work he does now for the company he works for. So it's amazing how this thing works out. And that was in a show this is really interesting, because that was a show in Italy where he was invited to go and present his Minimig prototype for an award, maybe get an award. He didn't win the award, something else won. But that was the first time that Jens Schoenfeld found out that Dennis had a Minimig. And Dennis was creating his own FPGAs. He was trying to recreate the whole of the Amiga chipset in FPGA, but really controlled based on all the timings, doing it really accurately. And that was in the Clone A. He had the C1 first, then Clone A. It never was realized, except it did. The Turbo Chameleon product that came out much later was based on that early work. And when he gave his presentation today, I was asking what's happening to that work he's doing with the custom chipset. Yeah. But Jens does a lot more than that. He does accelerators, he does graphics, he does everything. So he's been, as he said, he started his business when Commodore went bust. What timing, right? But Minimigs evolved. There's a Swedish guy called Peter Zedlina. He decided to create a mini ITX version of the Minimig and add lots of new features. He even created a mini Minimig. But unfortunately, he's probably a student. I've just come out of university. He wasn't married. He probably found girls and work, and then he stopped doing the work. But it was a really nice phase in the development of Minimig to prove that you can actually really develop and expand it. There's another crazy guy up in Canada who has gone one further with Minimig, and he started making Minimig 1.1s. He bought the machinery to make it all himself, the pick and place machine, and he started working on other things for the classic community. He made re-Amiga boards for the 1200 and other Amiga components. And 2 years ago, he came out with version 1.9, beautiful little machine. His latest version is Minimig version 1.98 ITX. Now I have to read this one because I didn't know this one. It's not in the book, this one. It got DIP64 sockets, ARM controller, Pistorm compatibility, performance similar to an A600 with CPU speeds up to 40. Oh, that's the other one, sorry. It's a 6-layer gold-plated PCB, blah, blah, blah. 6800, near 60 megahertz. Again, it's Pistorm, kickstart caching, and can support the terrible fire accelerators. Well done. And its latest, the ITX version includes Wi-Fi headers, wireless connectivity to the Minimig ecosystem. So it's really developing these things. And you can buy these. They're available to buy. So if you want an advanced classic computer running AmigaOS classic and having wireline connectivity without having your old Amiga hardware, you can do it today. But the ones that really have caught the imagination with most Amigans over the years, and other games players, are the Mist and Misters. Let's straight up Mist and Misters. So Till Harbourne created the Mist. He was actually an ST. Sorry, Chris, he was an ST guy. First. So he created the Mist. It was supposed to be ST for ST, but eventually he found it easier to emulate the Amiga. So he did that first. He did the ST afterwards. But now this is available today to buy from various. Again, it's open sourced, so other people make it, and you can emulate almost any computer on it, any retro computer, or it's crazy, really is crazy. Alex Melnikov, a Russian, went one further with the Mister. They were both inspired by the Minimig. They were inspired by the Minimig, and this one is it's based on a DE Nano 10, I guess. Is that the right word? Board. But you can add lots of other things to it and get a little tower like that. Again, it's open source. You can do it yourself. But a number of small manufacturers, small companies have created their own. You can see 4 or 5 companies selling these all around the world at various price points, depending on how many levels you want there, how much support you want. But really, really good. And there's I don't think I saw any Misters or Miss at the show today. One, okay, good. I did see one of Ranco's boards, one of the 1.9 mini makes. Yep. Of course, you know, the one that is quite interesting as well, again, someone else wanted to recreate all the Amiga custom chips in FPGA, and it started a lot earlier. And he wanted to create a native Amiga computer called Natami. So unfortunately, it never came to fruition, but it created, and the guy's name was, come on, what was the guy's name? Anyone know? I should know, but I don't. So there we are. Thomas Hirsch, that was the guy, Thomas Hirsch. And he actually met a bunch of guys. He was typical Amiga. He loved the Amiga. He wanted to recreate the Amiga. Started working for IBM in the PowerPC division. So and he met another 3 or 4 people who were all Amiga freaks in the PowerPC division. They didn't know this, but at lunchtime they'd have lunch together and start talking about real computers, the Amiga. So they're working on the really powerful PowerPC processors, CPUs, for IBM. They're all talking about Amigas, how wonderful it was, and how much better it is. And anyway, they decided to do the native Amiga, and they came across with clones. And from this, the Apollo group evolved. The Natami never got commercial. Obviously, a number of prototypes. It was all funded by Thomas Hirsch. But he decided that, look, I've got a life, I've got a family, I can't keep putting money into this. It all stopped. So yeah. But it did lead to an association with Mastrovich, who took the lead with developing a Vampire accelerator. It was the first FPGA accelerator for A600. He wasn't an Amiga, and he knew nothing about the Amiga. But he got a whole, probably because it was in Bosnia, he had a whole bunch of A600s, and he started wrecking them, trying to create an FPGA accelerator. And it took him 3 years, and he eventually did create the fastest 68K FPGA accelerator in the world at the time. Right? But he never really got over some of the problems. When the Natami group disbanded, they created the CPU in FPGA, and they called it 68050. And then they did a few tweaks, and they called it 68080. But basically, the FPGA of the 68K CPU. They worked together with Master and created Vampire V2 with bigger FPGAs, chips on board, and worked together. And so you've got a whole bunch of Vampire V2 accelerators for the 5000, for the 1200, for the 600, all based on the original concept and idea of Masterovich, but with the FPGA CPU based on the Apollo CPU. That led to the Vampire V4 standalone. Is any here today? No Vampire V4. No. Okay. There's one in the raffle. Okay, which is a very small, self-contained. Well, it's called a Vampire V2. It's obviously an Amiga clone, and some V4 accelerators for the A500, 1000, 2000, and the 1200. So these are accelerators based on the Apollo FPGA core, their 68080 CPU. Unfortunately, after that, Master decided to focus on Vampire V2s independently, while the Apollo team released V4 accelerators for the Amiga and 68K machines. They went their separate ways. It wasn't a happy parting, but they both contribute to the industry and to the Amiga scene, so I'm not going to say any more about that. What's been a real bonus for Amigans is crowdfunding. And a number of Amigans have used crowdfunding to fund their projects, to take the risk out of funding their projects. Matthew, we could do that. Crowdfunding has become an essential tool for Amiga community, tapping into the platforms like Kickstarter and Indiegogo. Amiga retro computing enthusiasts have successfully launched and funded a variety of hardware and software products. Cases, keyboards, retro consoles, games, books. They've all benefited from the trend of using crowdfunding. Bill Bazzari's 2015 Amiga 30th celebrations, Banquet, and the show was partly or mainly funded by crowdfunding, by Kickstarter. Is that correct, Bill? Yep. Even David Pleasance used Kickstarter to fund the first volume of Vampire's book. He thought it was going to be one volume, for volume 1 of the Vampire's book. The rest was from sales. There are only there's too many community projects to talk about. I've walked around now. There's enough I've seen today for another book. I'm not writing it, okay? So, and not only that, we've got people recreating classic Amiga boards. And there's a group of people that they go to they get a board, have it sanded down, and they recreate all the traces and rebuilt up and spend lots of money doing it. And then they put it open source, and companies then build them. Or you can build it yourself, just buy the board, I couldn't do that because I haven't got the skill, but the companies that will sell you a new Amiga 4000 motherboard or a new 500 board. And the many innovators are working to do that. One of the first was Paul Resendez. Is Paul here? Yay, Paul. Yeah. He got some funding, but probably funded most of it himself to recreate the A4000 board. And you know, there are people making A4000s, new A4000s, from the boards that he created. Well done, Paul. John Hurtle, he does a lot of re-Amiga boards for the 3000, for the, oh, I can't remember, there's lots of them anyway. Yeah, he's done loads, and for A360, Accelerate, everything he's done. This group's crazy. And then you've got Floppy, I couldn't find his name. Even in the book, he's Floppy 209. I hope he's not a medical condition. Yeah, and it's amazing what the people are doing. And they all open source them, which is the great thing about it. And it allows other people to build them, either buy a built system or create themselves. There's some of the re-Amiga boards there. There's a 4000 there, I guess. 2000, that 3000, 1200. Anyway, whatever. Re-Amiga boards, brand new Amiga boards. It's not new. I mean, there's a guy in Spain, Mr. Fides, who recreated the Amiga 1000 with help from Eduardo Arana. Arana? What's his name? Someone tell me? Edu. Thank you. And they recreated it, but they tend to keep it within their club. So they fund it in their club, and if there's any excess, they'll sell it all around the world. But generally, it stays within their club. But you know, creating new boards is not new, really. There was the Phoenix board for the A1000 way back. But it is good that we're doing that. And people are creating new accelerators. They're also doing that. One that I quite, and I can't mention everyone because there's just too many, right? But one I quite like is the three, I call them the Three Sisters. Way back in Switzerland, an anonymous Mr. A, doesn't like publicity, started developing a living room board that would be small and would be wife or partner friendly. Or husband and partner friendly. I'm trying to be, you know, on both sides. And so he created what was called the AMI ITX, which was an ITX version, or a modern ITX version of an Amiga using custom chipsets. So, and it includes accelerators, it includes Wi-Fi, internet, includes RAM, all these things you put onto it. And I thought that was it. And then he refined it and created Denise, an improved version. I just found out a couple of weeks back, he created Lisa, a new version of it. And these are all small runs of boards for their group, for their team, which people can buy when they have enough, you know, orders in. I think I funded the Denise one. I helped to fund that one because I was really keen on you know, what they were doing. I thought it was really good to create a mini ITX motherboard, modern Amiga motherboard, but using all the old stuff. It was great. That was really good. So, but the thing is, there's so many things. Oh, I can't miss out the Pistorm, which is taking the Amiga community by storm. The classic Amiga community loves the Pistorm. If you don't know what it is, it's basically carrier board. You remove the CPU, you put the carrier board in the CPU place, and you put a Raspberry Pi on top, and it gives you all the features of the Raspberry Pi. Acts as an accelerator, but it's got so many other things. So, and the software is developing all the time. So this is selling. I mean, is this one of your most popular? Yeah, Pistorm. And again, he open sourced it, so people can create their own carrier boards, Pistorm carrier boards, but you know, and sell them. Because not everyone can solder. I certainly can't solder to that level. Sorry. But we do a world of innovation. I mean, the Amiga community continues to innovate with projects like multifunctional ZZ9000 graphics card, which is more than a graphics card, as we know. It's got everything on it. It's from an MNT in Germany. The ARM-based Buffy drop-in board, for replacement for accelerator for a CPU by Rennie Cousins. A range of open-source Terrible Fire accelerators from Stephen Leary. CS Labs Warp Engine accelerators for the Amiga 500 and 1200. There's even Michael Spindler's Akiko 32 portable classic Amiga laptop. And Hans de Ruyter's A1282 do-it-yourself laptop. There's just so many things going on, so many developments that it's hard to keep up. It really is. When I sat down to plan this talk, you know, as I said, it turned quickly into a really long presentation. I've tried to keep it as short as possible. There's just so much happening in our Amiga world. It's hard to keep up. So I'm definitely not writing another book because it's too difficult. There's too much going on. If you're curious to know all the amazing developments of people shaping our Amiga community, the Vultures of Vampires trilogy, and this is a really not a plug for the book. It's more about the information in there that I managed to put together is a real resource of information. It's worth having just for that. So what is an Amiga in 2020? After all that, what is an Amiga, right? I think Harrison had right. It still is an Amiga world, right? Is it a souped-up 68K running classic Amiga OS? Or is it a custom-built next-generation PowerPC machine? running Amiga OS 4 or MorphOS. Maybe it's an AROS-powered PC or a cycle-accurate liquid silicon FPGA clone. Could it be a 68K emulation on ARM or Windows? One thing's for clear, talented Amigans are still pushing the platform forward, developing new hardware and software for our beloved machine. Whether it's a classic 68K-inspired vampire board, community-driven projects like Denise or Lisa, or powerful PowerPC systems from AON or ACube, the Amiga spirit endures in all its forms. But the Amiga is more than hardware and software, or even legal disputes and IP challenges. It's the collective passion of the community, enthusiasts, developers, companies, who continue to pour time, energy, and funds in keeping the Amiga dream alive. What began as a computer platform has evolved into a broader movement, embracing classic enthusiasts, next-generation hardware developers, software innovators, and a community that remains deeply passionate and inventive. In 2024, the Amiga scene is more vibrant, diverse, and complex than ever, a testament to its enduring legacy and the commitment of its community. Ultimately, what defines an Amiga today isn't just the technology. It's the enduring legacy. It's the enduring spirit of the users, the dedicated developers, and the entire community. We, the Amiga enthusiasts, are the heart of what makes Amiga so great. We are Amiga. Thank you.